Hello, you're listening to Introductions featuring local young musical talent every Saturday morning. I'm Robbie Ellis and we're live today in the Faye and Daniel Levin Performance Studio. My guest is 15-year-old Edie Park from Chicago's Old Town neighborhood. She's a scholarship fellow at the Music Institute of Chicago Academy, studying piano with Marta Aznavourian and Winston Choi. Currently a sophomore at the Latin School on the Gold Coast, she's the Director of Community Outreach for Musicians for Hope, a non-profit dedicated to music education. Edie is also a long-time supporter of WFMT and partnered with our Bark to School program on behalf of Musicians for Hope. In today's recital, she plays a Beethoven sonata movement, a Chopin scherzo, and an adaptation of the Korean folk song Ong Hea by Jean Ahn. First, though, Edie begins in the Baroque. This is one of the 555 keyboard sonatas of Domenico Scarlatti, a D major sonata, Kirkpatrick 29. Edie Park is live on Introductions on Classical WFMT. A keyboard sonata by Domenico Scarlatti in D major. It was performed live on Introductions this morning by 15-year-old Edie Park of Chicago's Old Town neighborhood. She's at the microphone now. Edie, welcome to Introductions and welcome back to WFMT.
Hi, Robbie. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. You mentioned that you've decided on the whole rest of your program quite early and that the Scarlatti that you just played was a late addition. Why'd you choose it?
Yeah, so my teachers and I discussed what would be the best way to open the program, and I decided on this Scarlatti Sonata because it's very bright and light, so I thought it would be the perfect way to get listeners in the right mood on a Saturday morning, and I also feel like it captures my personality.
What are your earliest musical memories? If you were listening a few hours ago during Saturday Morning Listener's Choice, you mentioned something about Rondo alla Turca. You want to just repeat that little story again for the listeners?
So even before I started to talk, I would constantly listen to the third movement of Mozart's Piano Sonata No. 11, commonly known as Turkish March. I would listen to it over and over and over. And when my mom buckled me into the car seat, I gave her the hand sign to play the Turkish march. And we repeated it to the point where everyone else in the car could hear it, even after they got off.
Out of interest, could you describe what the hand sign for Turkish march is? Because I'm not too familiar with sign language.
So I take my right hand pointer finger and just put it against my left palm, like that.
All right, I got to teach my little boy that. Do you come from a musical family? Do your parents, relatives make music?
No, nobody in my family is a professional musician, but we all love listening to music. And fortunately, my parents were very supportive of music education. And so when I wanted to start piano lessons, they were very open to it.
And what age was that?
That was when I was 6 years old.
6. So between 6 and you're 15 now, was there a point where you knew, oh yeah, piano's something that I'm really, really into, that I really want to take seriously?
Well, even ever since I started lessons, I'd say I took it pretty seriously because it was just really fun for me. But, whenever I was invited to birthday parties on the weekends, I would choose to not go to those and instead go to my lessons and group classes because I just never wanted to miss a lesson or skip a single day of practice.
I hope you got your own birthday parties, though.
I did.
Okay, well, that's something. You've got some Beethoven up next. Obviously, he wrote an absolute ton of piano music. You've chosen one of his early sonatas, a movement from there. Set it up. What are you going to play, and why'd you choose it?
So I'm going to play Beethoven Piano Sonata in C major, Opus 2, number 3, the first movement, Allegro con brio. I knew I wanted to play one of the earlier Beethoven sonatas, so I listened to all of them, and this one captivated me the most because I love all the imitations of orchestral and chamber sounds. It's also very unusual compared to most other Beethoven sonatas in that there's a mini cadenza towards the end of the movement.
That's a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Edie Park. I'll let you get situated. Some Beethoven live on introductions this morning. The opening of the Sonata in C major, Opus 2, number 3. one of the early piano sonatas of Beethoven, the first movement of his C major sonata, Opus 2, number 3. The performer was 15-year-old Edie Park, making her debut appearance on Introductions today, live from the Faye and Daniel Levin Performance Studio. She's on the show right now because she filled out our audition form. WFMT.com/introductions is where to go to find that. You have to be pre-college and local to the Chicago area to apply, but we do love to hear from you. I'm booking recital sessions for the next school year, so you can get on it now. Also, find out more about today's soloist, upcoming shows, and listen to podcasts on our webpage, WFMT.com/introductions. Coming up soon, the Scherzo No. 2 of Chopin and a piano piece based on Korean folk song. You're listening to Classical WFMT. Introductions is sponsored by John Norwood Lee Bowes and Chicago College of Performing Arts at Roosevelt. Introductions is also made possible through the generous support of the Nagorny Foundation, the Kippart Family Foundation, and WFMT members like you. I'm Robbie Ellis, and my guest today is Edie Park, 15 years old, a sophomore at the Latin School of Chicago, and a scholarship fellow at the Music Institute of Chicago Academy. I teased this earlier, Edie. Your first appearance on Introductions is right now, but it's not your first appearance on Classical WFMT overall. We're going to get to that story. But do you want to tell us about your first memories of classical radio in general?
Yeah, my grandparents, both my grandpas were classical music and opera aficionados. And when I was living with my maternal grandparents for a year, they always started the day by turning on classical radio. So I soon picked up that habit, and that's how I got into listening to classical radio.
There's a story that's become legendary in this office about you, age 8, calling 773-279-2100, and I'm sorry for saying the phone number again, given that we just finished a membership drive, but Edie, you just go ahead and tell the story.
Yeah, that is the story of my first crime, and hopefully my last. I love listening to the membership drives in particular, and once when I was 8 years old, I wanted to donate, so I went and got my mom's phone and credit card from her bag, and I called the number, and the volunteer on the line asked for the credit card info, but I didn't know what that was at that time. So she asked, she thought my voice was too young, and so she asked to talk to my mom. So you can imagine my mom's face when I handed her her own phone in one hand and her credit card in the other.
Thank you for your generosity over the years, including slight crimes. Then we have the first time that your voice appeared on this station. We have audio from this. I'm taking you back to Memorial Day 2019, and the host on that occasion, George Preston. Max, roll clip.
We have a very special guest who's been with us all day so far. I'd like to welcome Edie to the microphone. How are you doing?
Good.
Are you having a fun time at the beach party?
Mm-hmm.
And how old are you, Edie?
I'm 10 years old.
Well, you're going to join us for this quiz. IKEA furniture item or Scandinavian composer? I'll give you a name. You tell me if it's an IKEA furniture item or a Scandinavian composer. Ektorp.
A composer?
Ektorp is an IKEA furniture item. Okay, how about Salonen?
Composer?
You are correct. Yes. Brimness.
IKEA furniture?
Correct. You're ahead of the game, Edie.
George Preston at the 2019 Memorial Day beach party there. George doesn't work for the station anymore, but somehow he's turning up in Introductions today and the Met Opera quiz after lunch. So, yes. Hello, George. Edie, what do you remember of that Memorial Day beach party?
So I remember wearing the salmon-colored WFMT t-shirt designed by David Sisko, and even though I got the smallest size available, it came all the way down to my knees. I also remember carrying around this old-fashioned red little radio all day. And in terms of the quiz, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but out of the corner of my eye, Maggie Clennon Reberg was helping me. She would shout silently, "Composer!"
Well, I don't think that qualifies as a crime. I did get a text from Maggie. Please say hello to Edie and her parents from me. I let her know that you were going to be on today. So, okay. This isn't the end of your involvement with WFMT. Tell us all about Musicians for Hope.
Yeah, Musicians for Hope is a nonprofit organization that supports underfunded music programs in elementary and middle schools in the Chicago area. We have 2 annual fundraising concerts, one to support a designated school, and the other to raise funds for the Back to School program. In fact, our next spring concert will be for Gale Elementary Community Academy, and it's at 6 p.m. on May 18th in Nichols Hall. Music has always played a really important role in my life. I've met many of the best people through music, all my best friends, all my piano teachers. So I really want other kids to have that opportunity to experience that special experience of connecting with the world through music. So I'm hoping as many people as can will come to the free and open concert. Again, it's on May 18th at 6 p.m. You can find more information about it at www.musiciansforhope.net.
So that Nichols Concert Hall in Evanston, will you be playing at that concert?
I will.
There we are. And now, bringing us up to the present day, you're on Introductions. Hello, glad you're here. Now, back to the music. Chopin is up next. There's a large variety of pieces with a lot of different moods. What have you chosen and why?
So I'm going to play Chopin Scherzo No. 2 in B-flat minor. And as you said, there's a variety of different moods to choose from, but what I love about this scherzo in particular is that it pretty much has a huge variety of different human emotions, from eerie to tranquil and carefree, just everything you can think of. So in the beginning, I like to imagine tiptoeing through a haunted house. Then there's a crack of thunder before everything goes quiet again. And then the middle section to me sounds like a prayer and walking into the most breathtaking cathedral. And then it ends very triumphantly, which is a very big contrast to a lot of the other sections throughout the piece. So I hope you enjoy listening to this as much as I love playing it.
Thank you so much, Edie Park. About to play the Scherzo No. 2 of Frédéric Chopin, live on Introductions on Classical WFMT. Chopin's Scherzo number 2 in B-flat minor, played by Edie Park on Classical WFMT this morning. She's live on Introductions, a student of Marta Aznavourian and Winston Choi. Edie, so I'd be glad to talk about the huge variety of non-musical things you get up to. You're a sophomore at the Latin School of Chicago, and you're busy there with journalism. Tell me all about that.
Yeah, I'm a features editor for The Forum, which is my school's student-run newspaper. My love for journalism actually began when I was quite young. I was obsessed with newspapers and magazines, and I would collect them in my room like stacks, like an old bookstore. I had the New York Times, the Chicago Tribune, the Wilmette Beacon, the North Shore Weekend, Time for Kids, the Piano Magazine. You name it, I had it. So my main source of news came from these newspapers and, of course, WFMT. I would get up early in the morning to listen to the news at 6 a.m. and then again at 7 a.m. before starting my day. And I would jot down all the news in my little Mozart notebook.
Oh, wow. And right around the corner from the Latin School in Old Town, Gold Coast, Lincoln Park, we can debate what neighborhood that is exactly. It's the Chicago History Museum, somewhere that I'm ashamed to say I still haven't visited, even though I used to work for Second City right around the corner. But you're a volunteer there. What am I missing out on by not having gone to the Chicago History Museum?
Oh, a lot. It's a great place. The Chicago History Museum has year-round programs and events. They have some great exhibitions, such as the Chicago Fire and American Railroads. But they also have a lot of cool events outside the building. So one that I volunteered at last fall was the Graceland Cemetery tour. And that was a really fun experience for me. Just by being there and volunteering, I learned a lot about some really cool people that were buried at that cemetery. And there were some people I learned about that really shaped the landscape of Chicago and the whole Chicago area as we know it today.
Oh, that's right. You would have learnt the fact, I knew this about Graceland Cemetery, that a century ago, Chicago was deprived of green space.
Yeah, exactly.
And so Graceland Cemetery would charge admission so people could have picnics there, which is a bit morbid.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell us about the last piece you're going to play for us today. It's by Jean Ahn.
So I'm going to play Onghea. I first learned this for the Sejong Cultural Music Competition last fall. And Onghea is originally a famous Korean folk song that farmers would chant during the harvest season. This modern adaptation by Jean Ahn is very gestural. When I was researching what Onghea meant and listening to various versions of the original tune, I did that all when I was first learning it, and it made me feel intimately connected to my heritage. The nice thing about working with a living composer is that you can actually interact with them and ask for their feedback. So that's what I did. I reached out to the composer Jean Ahn. I sent her my recording and asked for some feedback, which obviously you can't do with Beethoven or Scarlatti or Chopin. So she kindly replied and said she only had good things to say. So I guess you could say this interpretation of mine is composer approved.
We hope so. Thank you so much, Edie Park. Onghea by Jean Ahn, who's based in San Francisco. And you're going to hear it live on Introductions on Classical WFMT. The composer of that last piece was Jean Ahn, born in Seoul, South Korea. She got her PhD at UC Berkeley and is now based in San Francisco. The piece was called Onghea, inspired by a Korean farming folk song, and the performer was Edie Park. And Edie, before I let you go, you have your fingers in so many pies. Piano playing, music education, development, fundraising, journalism, history, museums. Look, you're only a high school sophomore, but do you have some idea of what you might do for college study and a career?
Yeah, I want to double major in piano and history. And after that, I plan to go to law school to become a lawyer. So specifically, I want to be a family lawyer so that I can directly help people who are going through hard times in their lives. But no matter what path I go down, music will definitely continue to be a core part of my life, and WFMT will always be in the background.
Well, we will watch your progress with interest, and thank you for coming in today and your dedicated support and dedicated listening of WFMT over the years.
Thank you. It was my pleasure performing here.
Thank you. Edie Park, 15 years old, from Chicago's Old Town neighborhood, a sophomore at the Latin School nearby, and a piano student of Winston Choi and Marta Aznavourian through the Music Institute of Chicago Academy. She's also heavily involved in Musicians for Hope, a non-profit that raises money for music education initiatives, among them WFMT's own Bark to School program. That's it for introductions today. You can find out more about Edie and listen back to this show and past shows as podcasts, wfmt.com/introductions. That's also where you can find out how to audition for the show yourself, wfmt.com/introductions. The audio engineer was Max Lebien, and I'm producer and presenter of Introductions, Robbie Ellis. Catch you next time as I feature more great young local musical talent every Saturday at 11 a.m. on Classical WFMT.